Yeah, I am pretty tired at the moment, but a few other points I wanted to make. I'm leaving it until this stage. I'm nearly 50 because I might have mentioned it in a previous video that when I was a young bloke, I didn't really feel confident enough to be able to drive a large truck. Now at this stage of my life, I'm thinking that it's something that possibly I could take on and succeed in, just so long as I'm very careful. The reason I say that is that in Australia, if you're in a truck and a trailer, and you're involved in any accident at all, you must call the police. So the police have to attend any accident that a truck's involved in, a large truck. So when I do finally land my first job driving a truck, and I don't think it's going to be for quite a while, I'm going to have to be super careful not to have an accident. I mean, even if there's a car accident in front of me and one of those cars hits my truck, then even still the police will attend, and I'm told that the truck will be unroadworthy straight away. So got to be ultra careful where I live driving a truck. So in other words here, it's part of a truck driver's job not only not to have an accident, but to prevent accidents from happening around him. A few things that have happened to me with trucks in the past was a friend of mine, I went with him for his first trip. This is going back to about oh Jesus, hard to say, we'll just say 1998, around about then. His first trip to into the large city in the state where I was living, so he just wanted a mate to go with him. Before that, I went for a holiday in the USA, and well, here's one for you. I was only about 26 at the time, and I was a tradesman. I was a plasterer, or what they call in the USA a oh no, it's not a gyp rocker, a drywaller. I was a drywaller here, a fibrous plasterer. And I thought I'd go for a trip to the USA. I had a bit of money behind me, so I went to Los Angeles, I think it was, and I got in a taxi. This is the sort of thing you do when you're a young bloke, or this is the sort of thing that you could do back in the early 80s. You couldn't do it now. So I just went to the USA. I got a USA driver's license in some travel agent. I went to the I got money as well, just some sort of came in a book. No one had ever seen it or recognised it in the USA, but with a bit of ID, I think I managed to get to purchase some things. I actually bought the motorbike with it. Anyway, I digress. So I'm in Los Angeles. I get in a taxi. I say, take me to where there's a motorbike shop. So he takes me to Hollywood Honda, and it was like being in a lolly shop. I could afford everything there. Things were much more expensive here, but I was over in the USA in this Hollywood Honda shop, and I could afford just about every bike there. And I saw this, was it VF 1100 Honda? The one with the 4-cylinder V configuration. So I bought the bike, and I just rode it clean across the USA, down Arizona, was it New Texas, yeah, I've got a map of the USA here. I landed in Los Angeles. I went to Hollywood Honda. I bought the motorbike. And this is an interesting story. I rode through Arizona. I think it was down to Tucson. Now how I found my way about, I've got no idea. I think I might have brought a map, and it's a wonder I didn't end up in Mexico. I rode through New Mexico. I rode through Texas, and I got to Oklahoma, and I was visiting friends there. I visited an exchange student in Oklahoma. Actually, what happened was I had a bit of a run-in with the law. I think I mentioned this before. I I took a young lady out to a party. We had a really good time, but the problem was it was fairly late, and I had to take the young lady back to where she lived. And on the way, I only had one motorbike helmet, and I gave it to her to wear. Oh, so excuse me, I had to sort something out just then. Just quickly before I go on to young people and people of all ages, if there's the slightest thing that could get you in trouble, simply don't do it. If you're okay, so the situation I was in was, I don't think I had money for a cab, and I don't think she had money for a cab, and it was in the USA, and she couldn't walk around. Okay, so I stand by what happened, and the decision I made was to try and get the girl home one way or another, and I succeeded. So she got safely home. Okay, so on with the trip. I went through the top of Texas to Oklahoma, where I visited an exchange student with my exchange sort of sister, and from there I rode the bike across to Indiana and visited a girlfriend there, and that was it. So the things you do when you're young are things that were possible back then. Yeah, but getting back to getting in trouble, being pulled over by the police. I got pulled over, and then more and more police came. They just kept on coming, and it was something about they couldn't figure out where I was from. And so what happened was, a policeman came along that knew an Australian or had been here, and he picked that I was an Australian. But anyway, they took me to a police station, and they didn't actually lock me up, but they just had me sitting there while they looked into the registration. It was from Hollywood, and apparently I was told that a policeman was the previous owner of the motorbike, and I bought it on let's say a Saturday, and a Monday and Tuesday, or a Tuesday, no hang on, I bought it on a Friday, and this happened on a Sunday, and it hadn't gone through the computer system yet. So I bought it from the shop and just rode it on the same day. I bought it and rode it on Friday night, and I got in trouble Sunday night. So it hadn't gone through the computers. But anyway, you know, it just started cracking jokes and that sort of thing, and they saw something about, they looked into it, and it was all okay, and they just let me go, and there was no dramas. Anyway, it was a very interesting trip. Now, this trip was just after the financial collapse of the late 80s, say 88. So 87, I think it was 87 that the financial collapse happened. About 80, hang on, it was before that, so beg your pardon, it was about 86. I was 26, I'm nearly 50 now, and it's now 2015. I was 26. Anyway, so the reason I'm talking about going across the USA with a, you know, my first experiences with trucks with an instructor, was, I said, I went with my friend with his first trip, and I went, and when I got to Indiana to see my girlfriend, her brother had just started out as a truck driver, and I went with him for his first trip to Chicago. We went up from Indiana to Chicago, Kokomo, Indiana, to Chicago, and then back again. It was at night. Did the trip at night. Yeah, it was great. Yeah, okay, so to end the video, I learned something interesting when you start talking to people you work with, where I work at the moment. And you're telling them that you're getting instructions, driving instructions, and you're trying to get your license for a multi-combination. Heavy combination, beg your pardon. Multi-combination is a road train or a B-double. Heavy combination is a tractor and trailer, or truck and trailer, or prime mover. But I think the prime mover is just the truck, not the trailer. So I was talking to a bloke that's fairly high up where I work at the moment, and he told me that the driver before me, they paid for him to get his license. So in other words, all this money, and I've spent $500 so far, and I'm probably going to spend a couple of $1,000 to get this license. The driver before me, the company paid for his license. They paid for all of his instructions and to get his license. And what he did was, with that license, the next week he went out and he got a job with the business that I work for, with their license that they paid for.